Okay, hello and welcome to the Dirt Road to Recovery. I am Kyle Higgins, your creator and host. If you would like to see this recording on my YouTube channel, feel free to go to YouTube, and it is the letters DR, the number 2 Recovery. That's DR2 Recovery. I'm gonna continue my story, my testimony. Last I left you guys off with, I had just started buying heroin and I was getting ready to be introduced to the needle. Um, what happened was I had met a kid at work, and unbeknownst to me, he was a heroin addict. And when we had talked about it, he asked how I was using my heroin, and I told him I was smoking it. And he said, "Oh man, you're not getting the bang for your buck. You definitely get more of a bang for your buck when you use the needle." So him and I went downtown. We each got about a gram of heroin together. He pulled out a spoon in his little kit, his syringe, his cotton, and he showed me how to load up the syringe. Now, what you do is you get the heroin out of a bag, you put it in a spoon, you draw up some water in the syringe, usually just an insulin syringe. You squirt the water into a spoon where the heroin is, and then I always use the cap of the syringe to mix up and kind of blend the heroin in with the water. In movies and in TV shows, you'll see people put a lighter underneath the spoon, and that's to heat up the liquid to burn out any bacteria or germs that the heroin might be cut with. Never once in my life did I use a lighter? Did I burn the spoon to clean the heroin? I always just went straight for the vein. So anyway, he showed me how to do it. And then he put the needle in my vein and pressed the plunger. I watched the heroin go into my vein for the first time, and I remember the feeling. The feeling was, oh man, it just, like, all your problems go away. Any type of physical pain you have, any type of mental pain you have, really everything just kind of goes away. You feel good all over. It kind of just, it's like a warmth that comes over your entire body, and any worries you have, all of them they all just kind of go away. I've heard a lot of people say they start itching and scratching and they throw up, and it wasn't for them. And man, I wish I would have had that problem, because would have solved a lot of my issues really quick. But I was somebody whose body was very, very accepting of the heroin, especially the needle. So here I am now using a needle to inject my heroin. The days just started getting darker and darker and darker. The more heroin you use, the more your body depends on it, and the more you use, you build up a tolerance really quick to heroin. So you start off one day using a 20 sack, and then the next thing you know, you're pushing 4 or 5 grams a day through your vein, and it keeps getting darker and darker, and that's where my road was headed. I very quickly lost my job. The job performance not only was very questionable, but we also lost a contract. At that time, I was able to sell some equipment that we had from our data center, and get a pretty good amount of money for it. I think I got $10,000 for some equipment that I sold. So I was able to live off $10,000 for quite a while. What that was really doing was slowly killing me in mind, body, and soul. Every day I would wake up and I would call a drug dealer. And when I say wake up, that's only if I was able to use heroin the night before. If I wasn't able to find anything, I was up all night sweating and shaking and crying. Suicidal thoughts. Your nights are a nightmare if you don't have the substance in your body that it requires to survive. Your brain literally thinks it needs heroin to survive, and when you don't have it, it starts telling you that you're dying. And you'll literally do whatever it takes to go get that drug. So if you do wake up, you wake up with a little bit of shakes and some sweats, and you know immediately that you're going to have to lie, cheat, steal, maybe even physically hurt somebody that you know or love, just to feel normal, just to even get by for the day. And I will tell you that that's the most god awful, darkest feeling you could ever go through. Maybe besides losing a child, waking up every morning knowing that you're going to have to hurt somebody possibly who loves you just to feel normal is a nightmare. It's waking up in hell every single day. And an addiction isn't fun. A lot of people think our addictions, we just partied up and lived this lavish lifestyle, drugs, sex, rock and roll. It's nothing like that. You're literally, if you're not looking for drugs, you're extremely depressed. All you can think about is that drug. It completely takes over your mind, body, and soul, and you really have no choice except for what the drug tells you to do. So that's why I'm here and telling you to take back control of your life, because that drug completely had a hold of me, and I had no way. I had no way to get out. I had no idea what to do. So here I am, waking up every morning knowing what I'm going to have to do just to even feel normal. And I was living every day like that. Eventually, I ran out of that $10,000. One day, I went downtown Denver and picked up a bag, and this kid I was with, he said, "Hey man, have you ever mixed cocaine in with your heroin?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." And he goes, "Bro, next time you do it, just put a little bit of coke in the spoon." He's like, "Pull it up, plunge it into your vein, and then call me." So I was with my drug dealer one evening, and I just kind of asked him out of the blue. I was like, "Hey man, do you happen to sell any cocaine too?" And he goes, "Yeah, I do actually." And of course, he handed me about a half a gram for free, so I had 2 grams of heroin, and I can't remember if it was a half or a full gram of cocaine. And I remember I went back to my house, and I did like I was told. I put the cocaine and the heroin in the spoon and drew it up into the syringe, and then put it in my vein and plunged it. And that feeling was, honestly, it was a little bit scary at first because I never felt anything like it, but it was like you get that immediate high. Cocaine is something that makes you feel very strong, almost like you can just rule the world as soon as it goes into your nose or into your veins. And it's just a very, very good, powerful feeling, just something. And it goes away so fast, though, and that's the problem with cocaine, is it goes away so quick, and you just keep going and going and going, just chasing that dragon, looking for that first high, and you're never going to get it. But that's why it's so dangerous, is you just keep going and going. So I had this incredible feeling of the cocaine just taking over my body, and you feel great. And then those jitters that you get with coke, the coming off cocaine, the sweaty, upset stomach. You don't get that when heroin is in the mix, because the heroin takes you away from all of those jitters and that pain that you get from using just cocaine. So the two mixed together, the heroin and the cocaine, seemed to fit very well with my body. It just, man, it was the best feeling, and then another way to escape, another way to forget about everything you're going through. My life wasn't, no job. The relationship with my family and friends was pretty much diminishing by now, and now I'm putting cocaine into with the heroin, and my heart is pounding out of my chest. I remember I had to go sit next to the fireplace because it was a little bit chilly, and it was dreadful. I was wondering if I was going to die afterwards, because it was a very, very intense experience. But I was hooked. I was immediately hooked. And then you want that feeling again, so you immediately load up another syringe with coke and heroin, and you plunge that into your veins. And then 5 minutes later, you're loading up another shot, because you just got to have more and more and more, and you need that coke feeling it feels so good. But then you need the heroin to come down, and that's, my life was already headed towards shambles. But this is when I introduced cocaine into my heroin habit. Man, everything snowballed, and it went downhill so fast. I sold literally everything that I had. I mean, I had 31 weapons I used for hunting, the outdoors, backpacking, camping, fishing. The outdoors was a very, very big passion of mine. Something I loved thoroughly and enjoyed doing, and it hadn't been a part of my life since I, honestly got injured and started the OxyContin. There was really nothing in my life that was healthy, including relationships, except for with my family. And really, the only reason that was healthy was because they loved me, and it was going away. All of it was going away very, very fast. I was having more and more encounters with the police and law enforcement. The paraphernalia, just a possession, a lot of little things I was being picked up for. I eventually ended up being put in jail for 3 months. I, I didn't follow probation. I was on probation for a DUI I had gotten a long time ago, and I was able to stay away from the law and skirt for a long time. But everything catches up with you eventually, and I got thrown into jail for about 3 months. Something I thought that was going to save my life. I got out of jail and was very excited about life. I was sober, I felt like I could get back on track. But the pull to go back to that lifestyle was very it was strong. It was magnetic. I couldn't stay away. I thought to myself, I can go back and I can try it just once, and I did, and I was wrong. I couldn't go back and try it just once. Within 2 weeks, I was back to using every single day again. I eventually had to come forward to my parents and tell them what I was using and the things I was putting into my veins and my daily routine and what was happening to me every day. I was slowly dying, and I had to tell them because I needed help. I went to them in tears, and a lot of those weapons I had sold, were my grandfather's. My dad's dad, he handed them down to me before they passed away. So my dad was adamant. We went to the pawn shop, and he bought back everything that I pawned, including a bunch of jewelry of my mother's, electronics. I mean, I literally robbed my family blind of everything that they had, and myself included, obviously. There were things that were off limits. My dad has a rifle, and my mom and my parents' wedding rings. Those were always off limits. I had chances, but for some reason, I don't know how, I was able to control myself, and I did never take or pawn those things. And I'm not saying I deserve a pat on the back or anything, but I kind of was something I was always proud of. On the days where I was throwing up, going through such awful withdrawals, I thought I was dying. There was times where I could have got that gun and found my mom's wedding ring and knew where she kept it, but I didn't. And I was always somewhat proud of myself for that, I guess, in a way, the small victories. But anyway, my father bought back everything. I want to say he spent like $2,500. And I gave him the spiel that I was going to try to get better, and I really was. I had it in my heart. I wanted to get better. I wanted to sober up and get back to the person I knew I was capable of being. So I tried to quit on my own. And honestly, I tried to do it several times on my own. It didn't work. Slowly but surely, I was back to using again. Cocaine and heroin, and slowly but surely I was starting to pawn off every single one of my weapons again. Only this time I kind of learned some criminal ways in county jail, and I started to rob Home Depots, I started to rob Lowe's, I started to rob people, and I started to rob drug dealers. It got pretty bad. The things I was doing, the people I was hurting, the violence I caused, the violence I was involved in. All just for this drug that had complete control over my mind and body and soul. The sober me would have never thought about any of these actions, and that's the hardest thing about getting sober is you truly have to learn how to forgive yourself. You have to learn to forgive yourself for the people you physically hurt, and the money you stole, the material you stole, the heartbreak you caused friends and family. It's hard for people who don't understand addiction to know or even understand why we do these things, why we steal from the ones we love the most and lie and manipulate. It's the most awful disease in the world because we literally can't control a thing we do. It's almost as if a drug addiction is a demonic possession. Like there's a demon that takes over your soul, and none of the things I did, the lying, the cheating, the stealing, especially drugs, nothing was a part of my lifestyle before an injury. I didn't even know what heroin or cocaine looked like or what it even did. I was very oblivious to that kind of lifestyle. Um, but here I am in the thick of it, and back to pawning everything, and more encounters with the police. Um, One day I was shooting up in my car with a guy that I use with, and all of a sudden slam on the side window, and it was the cops, drug task force, and they had watched me from inside the McDonald's shooting up, and so I got pretty aggressive. I got a possession charge. I spent about 15 days in jail, including Christmas Day. I was in jail on Christmas Day, and it was really tough going through heroin withdrawal. Just the mental depression. Christmas was the next day, so I was right in the thick of it on Christmas Day, not able to really talk to any friends or family. Going through some pretty awful withdrawal, and that was when things really hit me that I was killing myself. I was killing my family. I was killing my relationship with God, if there was even one. Nothing in my life was healthy. There was not a person in my life besides my immediate family that was healthy that I hung around. Everything was in shambles. That drug literally took everything that I had, and also from my family too. It took so much from them. So I'm laying in jail on Christmas Day. I had a panic attack. Had to go to the medic inside county jail. So I got out about 15 days later, and I immediately walked over to a sober living facility in Denver, Colorado, called Step 13. I was there for about 3.5 months. They ended up kicking me out. I had a prescription of Suboxone, and I gave it to one of the other participants because he had a friend struggling with a friend struggling with a heroin addiction, and I didn't have any need for the Suboxone, so I handed it to him. Well, he got caught with them, and so they dismissed both of us from the program. So, of course, I go back to using, and when I go back to using, I contact a guy that I had met in jail. He was into some pretty dark things. He was into meth also. Meth was his drug of choice, and I started to mix heroin with meth, and this was closer to the end of my story, and this is when days got really, really bad, dark for about the last year of my addiction, using meth and heroin. Would try to find coke, but it was just so much more expensive and a lot more, the whole bigger bang for the buck thing. That's what meth was, and the desperation, the desperation for amphetamines that is in your brain. That addiction is the devil. They're all the devil, but meth addiction, it's something else. And I would never say that. I've never done meth alone by itself. It was always mixed with heroin, but just putting that stuff in my body, I could feel the demons in it. I could feel the dark energy. I could feel the devil literally present when I would put that stuff in my body. Started figuring out ways to make money and rob drug dealers. One of the things I would do was when I could trade an iPhone for 3 grams of heroin and a couple grams of coke or meth, and then I would turn a tracker on that phone, and the drug dealer would take that phone back to the house, and if I was lucky, he left it on, and they actually usually did leave it on. I would then stake the house out for a few days where that phone was, and then a couple friends, or not friends, some drug guys, and we would eventually break in with weapons and take everything we could. One time there was a family. There was a family home, and I'll never forget that night. And this telling you guys this story. I'm not going to give a lot of details because I'm in the middle of writing a book. A lot of them are very hard to speak about without getting emotional and kind of ruining ruining this podcast. And speaking in tears in my last couple, you probably saw the emotion or could hear it in my voice, and I don't want to go there. So I will say it is very, very dark though. And the things you do to get drugs are very, 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 very dark. I've been stabbed, involved in some drug deals gone wrong. One of the best ways to rob drug dealers was to put a syringe in your vein and draw a bunch of your own blood. Get a bunch of your own blood out in the syringe, and when the drug dealers get in the car, you show them the syringe full of your blood, and they will literally, faster than if you got a drug or a knife or even just threatening physical violence at all, they'll fight back, and it's scary. But if you have a syringe filled with your own blood and threaten to even squirt it on them, they'll give you everything that they had. And that's what I started to do. I was robbing drug dealers, robbing for money and drugs and other material valuables from their houses. I'd get them in the car. And again, that's something I've had to live with, the violence, the people I've hurt. It's been very, very tough. And it's something every alcoholic and addict is going to have to battle through when you get sober. There's things that we do that we don't want to do. It's almost like our brains just make us do it. Like we have no control, and that's why in addiction, you hear so much take back control, to admit that you have no control over your life. I mean, control. Control is the key word here. There's zero control in addiction. You have none of it. You have none of it. You don't get to decide. You don't even really get to decide when you eat or when you sleep. You don't get to decide what you say. You don't get to decide what you do or who you hurt or even who you make happy. None of that is your decision. It's all decided by the substance that now has complete control of your brain. And if you don't have that substance, your brain will tell you that you're dying. I've never been to combat, thank God, but I would imagine during combat, your brain is doing whatever it takes to survive. Whatever you need to do in that moment to stay away from bullets or small arms fire, whatever you need to do to stay alive, to live, is what your brain is going to tell you to do. And that's just like addiction. You literally do whatever your brain is telling you to do to survive. And drugs is the only survival it knows. So getting that drug, obtaining that drug, your brain will go through incredible lengths to get that drug that it thinks it needs to survive. And there's no way around it. It doesn't matter if you got kids, if you got a wife, your family. None of it matters. None of it's stronger than the pull from that drug. And I know it's so hard to explain. A lot of you don't understand it, especially those who are married with kids. Like, I could never pick a drug over my kids and over my wife. And you're right. You're 100% right. You never would. 100%. You never would. But when you're a drug addict, you don't have a choice. You don't get to choose. You don't get to choose what you do. You're completely haunted and controlled by something that you don't want. But you can't get out. And you search day in. I'm sorry. Give me a second. You search day in and day out for help, and it's not there because you've hurt too many people, and it's not only that society hates you. You're everything. You're the monster that society sees in the movies. You're the bad guy, the criminal. You're the one that Superman is beating up in the movies, and nobody wants to be that. Nobody wants to be the villain, especially when I came from somewhere where I was very well appreciated and respected, and now I'm the demon, and you can't get out, and you need help. You can't do it on your own. Nobody can. And you hear those Cinderella stories, the one in a million, and they do exist. I don't have an explanation for those stories besides God, but everybody needs help when under the control of a substance. And kids these days, they're so young. They're so young. They're, grade school and middle school. And they're falling under these opiate addictions. And they're terrified to tell people. They're terrified to admit that they have a problem because they know they're going to be rejected in society. They watch the movies that I'm talking to you about. They see the TV shows, the sitcoms, and they don't want to be those people either. So no way in hell are they going to go to anybody and say, I'm a drug addict, or I need help, because they don't want that label. They don't want that label, and now everybody's fucking dying. I was dying. Nobody knew how to help. I ended up in probation in 5 different counties in 2 different states. I sold everything I had, and my dad bought it back 3 times. Now it's all gone forever. I lost everything during my addiction. I'm almost 8 years clean now, and relationship with my mom and dad is great. My brother and sisters, it's just not there yet. I don't know if it ever will be, and it's okay. Because I can tell you this: since the recovery program I graduated from, I've been a full-time single father to a beautiful little girl who just turned 6 yesterday. Today's June 11th, 2023. I can now help people with mental health and addiction. I have found a place inside my heart where I am so happy. And I love people with all that I have, because I've been in such a dark place that it allows me to see such a beautiful light. Just waking up alive in the mornings and be able to watch the sunrise is so valuable to me, because I don't have to wake up shaking or sweating or throwing up. I don't have to wake up and tell people lies. Like, I just get to wake up and enjoy a sunrise now and spend time with my daughter. That my life is more beautiful than it ever has been, because of my addiction and because of my struggles, and because I worked very hard to get here. And I see the value in sobriety, and I'm here to share it with you. I want you to feel like I feel. I want you to know that addiction is the devil and a nightmare from hell. And you are so worth it. You have to see the value in yourself to heal, to get better. Because living a life under the control of something else is no life worth living at all. Freedom is everything to me. Everything to me. To be free from a substance it's incredible. And for those of you who don't understand addiction, that's what I'm here for, is to help educate you. And for those of you who are struggling right now hearing my words, I hope it can inspire you and help you, because you're so worth it. And you're still here for a reason. You're still alive for a reason. And I promise you, you will never know that reason as long as you stay under the control of the substance that has complete control over your mind, body, and soul right now. You will never know what you're here for or what you're even doing here until you can find sobriety and find yourself and truly start to love yourself and start to become productive member of society, I say in quotations, you know. But truly, just start loving yourself and respecting yourself and building relationships with people around you who are healthy and truly want the best for you. In our addiction, we hurt a lot of people, but also a lot of people hurt us. We're very vulnerable as addicts, and you know we're the menaces to society. People hate us, and we feel it, and it's okay. It's You have to forgive those who hurt you. You have to forgive society for maybe just not being as educated as they could be on addiction. You have to forgive everybody who completely wrongs you, because that stuff that you hold on to, it's only poison for yourself. You know, that hate and that anger that you have because of the way you were treated as an addict or an alcoholic or suffering from depression, suicidal thoughts. You have to forgive everyone, because people just don't understand, and only hurt people hurt people. I'm sure you've heard that one before, but it's true. People who are happy in life, they got nothing bad to say about anybody, but people who are sad, they've got a lot of judgment, they've got a lot of things to say, because pointing out other people's struggles, pointing out other people's demons and trauma, it makes them feel better about their own. It makes them feel better about themselves, and that's why they do it, and you have to see that, and you have to forgive them, because they're hurting just as bad as you are. They're not suffering from addiction maybe, but a lot of people out there are suffering right now, especially after COVID, and it's very easy right now to hold on to these titles that we carry, you know, the Democrats and the Republicans, the atheists and the religious. You know, there's only one people, and we're all the same. There's only one color. And there's only one religion, and it's God. You know, it's just everybody. Everybody should just take a step back and breathe. Put one another in each other's shoes, and know that, you know, there's really not bad people out there. Nobody's born evil and bad. You know, it's the trauma. It's the hurt people who have been through a lot, who continue to hurt people. And I'm here to tell you that trauma and that hurt stops with me, because of, excuse me. It takes a true man. It takes a true man to be able to forgive and quit hurting other people because you're hurt. And once you can learn to fully forgive and accept forgiveness completely in your heart, you can take all that hurt and all that pain and all that judgment and all that trauma, and you can not tuck it away, but you can learn to deal with it through healthy actions, and learn to react to your emotions with a healthy manner, and it can stop with you. You don't have to be hurt and then continue to hurt people. People who hurt you, the hurt can stop with you. It doesn't have to continue. And a true man and a true woman can literally take what they've heard and take that hurt and accept it and learn to heal through nature and love and God, if that be your path. And let's just quit hurting each other. This is where I'm going to end it. Thank you all so much for listening. I'm very sorry for the emotions sometimes. I'm very passionate about recovery, and I'm very passionate about those who are struggling to feel what I feel in their hearts, because I feel really incredible, and I want you to feel the same. So please go to my website, www.thedirtroadtorecovery.com. There you will find a link to all social media, YouTube channels. I wish you all the best in your recovery, and thank you all for following this. I hope you can continue to share, and please spread the word, because I'm here to help as many as I can. And remember that I love you.